Yeah, Chris, we wanted to come here to the Middle East to talk to people with connections to our area, back home. We wanted to see with our own eyes what life is like for them in the midst of this conflict. We've talked to people on both sides, and first up this morning, we're going to be invited into the home of a young mom from Montgomery County who now calls Tel Aviv home. It's playtime for nearly one-year-old Eitan Yacobi in his parents Esther and Eldad's comfortable Tel Aviv apartment.
All right, so we have about a minute and a half to make it down to the bomb shelter.
But this summer, it's anything but lighthearted here on an almost daily basis.
And you just kind of run down these stairs without tripping.
As sirens force the young family to their building's basement bomb shelter as a matter of routine now.
So we just kind of hang out here for a few minutes.
But sitting on her terrace just before the weekend Sabbath, this evening was calm on the surface.
You know, I think everybody feels the weight of what's going on in Gaza.
It's going on far from Huntington Valley, Montgomery County, where Esther was raised, a life she left behind when she made Aliyah, as it's called, 7 years ago, marrying her Israeli husband Eldad, an electrical engineer.
At a time like this, I'd rather be here than there, honestly, to support what we stand for and what we're trying to do.
Despite recent UN and U.S. condemnations of Israeli strikes that have hit UN schools in Gaza, killing women and children, Esther remains resolute in her belief that up against Hamas, Israel is doing the right thing.
So, you know, just kind of imagine New Jersey throwing rockets at Philadelphia. And then ask Philadelphia to sit quiet and just take the rockets, as the international community is asking of Israel.
As for the civilian casualties,
it does hit me, and it, you know, to hear of, you know, women and children getting killed in all of this, it's horrible. It breaks my heart. I know that we've avoided, you know, trying to kill them by sending, you know, leaflets and so on. I don't know what more Israel can do. And that's kind of where, you know, I say, okay, you know, it is what it is. Israel needs to defend itself, period.
But talk to a Palestinian and you obviously get very different views. Coming up in the next half hour, you're going to meet a man from Northeast Philadelphia, a Palestinian American, who invites us into his summer home in the West Bank. For now, that's the latest live from Tel Aviv. Jim Rosenfield, NBC 10 News. Back to you. And Rosemary, word of those heavy civilian casualties in Gaza weighs heavily on Palestinians from Philadelphia we spent the day with in the West Bank, an area not under Hamas control, but feeling the impact nonetheless. Here in the Palestinian West Bank, the call to prayer feels somehow different this summer for Northeast Philadelphian Azi Khalil.
There's a lot of tension going on this summer, actually.
Tension over what's happening to fellow Palestinians some 60 miles away in the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. That's where Israel has been fiercely battling Hamas tunnel incursions and rocket fire with deadly firepower of its own.
We're all one in this, you know? Especially this time, to tell you the truth, this is the most time that the Gazans and the West Banks are one body, one heart, one feeling. And there you go. This is where we go through.
Driving us around his native village of Ein Yabrud, where he spends every summer on vacation from running his pizza shops in Philadelphia, Khalil showed us what he says is a residual effect of the Israeli reaction to Hamas in Gaza.
They're throwing the food out of the car. There you go. You see?
He says Israeli military checkpoints are much more frequent now on roads that border Israeli settlements. A bit of irony not lost on either of us. Back home, you live next door practically to Israelis.
Yeah, we have a next door neighbor, actually. He's an Israeli. Yeah.
And your children are friends?
Our children are friends, and they eat with each other, they play with each other, they go to park with each other. And I wish we could have this life here, too.
There's people killing and people getting dead.
Khalil's younger children feel it, too, fearful now of kidnappings they've heard about in adult conversations. Would you ever consider packing up and leaving?
No, I'm not. I mean, that's part of me being a Palestinian. I have to deal with this.
So you'll stay?
I'm going to stay until end of August, until it's time for me to leave.
Back home, the stresses are very different. The stresses of running his own business, a sort of surreal double life, he admits. You can watch both of our stories that we aired this morning for you on our website at NBC10.com, where we also have a photo gallery of some of our travels during our trip here. More to come live later today on NBC 10. For now, live in Tel Aviv, Jim Rosenfield, NBC 10 News. For the last 8 years, Michael Levin's parents have returned here to Israel to visit the gravesite of their son. And this year, we were invited to attend that memorial in Jerusalem, where we also met others who've been inspired by his service and sacrifice. Michael Levin came to Israel on his own, a lone soldier, as they're known. But on this day, his parents are surrounded by the many friends and strangers he influenced.
We want to be with our son on this very important day. We also have many friends in Israel that we have met because of Michael's passing, that are there for us, that are like an extended family.
In that extended family, fellow paratroopers who fought beside Michael and were there the day he died in the Second Lebanon War.
When I talk about Michael, I like saying that he taught me, an Israeli born and raised here, a big lesson in Zionism, what it means to truly love Israel.
So the Levins have made it their mission to help fulfill their son's vision by supporting the Lone Soldier Center established in his name. Becca Richmond from Lower Merion, Montgomery County, is now one of those lone soldiers.
I was 12 when he died, and that was the first time that I had really heard that people can make Aliyah, that people can join the army, and people can actually serve Israel.
While Becca is not in a combat role, Debbie and Sam Moed's 20-year-old son David of Englewood, New Jersey is. Just days ago, among those fighting Hamas in Gaza.
When you're not an Israeli parent, I think you quickly understand that you need to be with your children when they're here and with the Israeli people when it's a time of tremendous danger and challenge.
This week, the Levins will help dedicate the 4th Lone Soldier Center to be located in Jerusalem. It's run by former lone soldiers who offer help with housing, food, and other basic needs to more than 4,000 men and women from around the world who now wear the Israeli uniform. In Tel Aviv, Jim Rosenfield, NBC 10 News. That's right, Jacqueline. We drove about an hour and a half from here to try to get an understanding about how money that's being raised back home in the Philadelphia area is helping to give Palestinian children a way to give off steam. But the moment we arrived in that refugee camp, we discovered that the reality is they are not immune at all to this conflict. It's summer in Bethlehem in the West Bank. The sounds of children playing that could just as easily be heard at a playground back in Bucks County. But these Palestinian children are living in the Ada refugee camp, a one-time tent city that's grown to house some 5,000 men, women, and children. Families without any other place to call home since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 forced them to flee their homes.
When you live in a refugee camp, you feel frustrated.
Salah Ajerma was born in the camp and has spent most of his life here.
Because I was missed this when I'm a child, now I want to give my children or the children of the camp a nice place to play.
It was Ajerma's vision to try to raise money to carve out an oasis in this otherwise gritty camp. It's support from all the way back in Yardley, Pennsylvania that transformed what was a garbage dump into this playground. Playgrounds for Palestine is the organization back in PA that funded this effort to give these kids a place to be kids.
To play for children, this is the most important thing.
But while we were visiting, play was suddenly cut short. Ajarma concerned the Israeli army, which watches over the camp from several towers on the perimeter, might repeat what he says happened here just yesterday.
They throw a lot of tear gas.
Ajarma showed us these images of the military using tear gas that seems to land right in the middle of the playground and spraying a foul-smelling liquid the military told me is a harmless biological component. So it's not harmful to them?
No.
Just smells bad?
Yes, it's just a stench that sticks to you for a couple of days.
An Israeli military spokesman admitting to us they use tear gas if the refugees seem close to rioting. Do you get the sense that there's more tension here in the refugee camp this summer than last time you were here?
Absolutely. The situation in Gaza has really cast kind of a sad shadow over the summer.
This American who volunteers at the camp didn't want to be shown on camera for fear of Israeli reprisals, but he shed light on the dynamic he's seen this summer.
Yeah, the kids feel like it's their responsibility to do something, to resist. They throw rocks at trucks or at tanks or at the military bases, and that's really the only thing they can do as kids, to just kind of express some of their frustration.
Frustration on both sides. We've been hearing a lot of that here in the past few days, with some hope this morning as this ceasefire holds, as you mentioned, Jacqueline. But I have to say, when we saw those kids hit the playground during those safe moments, they really do seem to forget their cares, at least as they're out there playing. Jacqueline, that's the latest live from Tel Aviv. Back to you.